Hello, 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 all of you beautiful nerds from around the world. Welcome to the morning stream here on the Den of Nerds Live. On today's show, we're going over the set photos all about that Batman. I'm a little worried. I gotta be honest with you. I'm a little worried about what I'm seeing from the Batman set photos. I don't want a Punisher Batman. I don't want it. We're gonna go into the theater. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. We also have to talk about, folks, Dan DiDio is out. Dan DiDio is out as the publisher of DC. This is a really interesting story with a lot of different layers to it. Some of the craziness that is going on with AT&T, Time Warner, and DC Comics could actually lead to Marvel buying DC Comics. Disney could purchase DC Comics with a license to publish those comics and or make television and movies based on those series. I know! It's pretty wild. I'm going to explain how all of that could happen, how it could work. We're also going to save a little bit of time for Q&A. How's everybody doing this morning? I see you in chat. What's going on, everybody? Fanjecture, Hector, Jason, Star Wars Santa, June, Brian, Phil, Maverick Pilgrim, Justin, Jacob's Quest, Alex, Mr. Anderson, Coachella, Drum and Company. We got a full crew already. Yawn, not going to happen. Trinity's here. Second Street Marvel's here. Very excited. Very, very excited, clearly, about the possibilities of Marvel purchasing DC Comics. Drum and Company sent a super chat a while back, and it never got answered. Well, I apologize for that, brother. What was the question? Let me know in chat, and we'll go over it again a little bit later. How's everybody doing? How was the weekend? How was the weekend for you guys? I had a good weekend. I went up to my hometown and watched some amateur wrestling, which was really, really cool. And then watched the Tyson Fury Wilder fight. That was pretty cool. What about you guys? How was your weekend? You let me know in chat. I also want to let everybody know, later on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're having another community stream here on the Den of Nerds Live. Come on by. You can actually pop onto the screen. You can actually pop onto the stream, hang out with us, have your voice literally be heard. That's going to be a good one. Tonight's stream is all about what DC should do with their films, with their television, with their comics. Now, the news with DiDio and some of that stuff, it's like speculative, right? So I don't think we're going to talk too much tonight about how they should just sell to Marvel and Disney. I don't think that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about what should they do if they don't sell? What should they be doing if they don't just give up? You know what I mean? How do they get out of this? You know what I mean? So that will be tonight. Also, yes, there is some Project Luminous hype. Jacob's Quest says tonight at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Justin, you can be famous. I see you in chat. Tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we should start getting some rolling tidbits, some info about Project Luminous. We'll probably be talking about that on tomorrow's morning stream. That should be really exciting, okay? So make sure you come on by tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be fun. Yeah, Jason and Tara might argue a little bit more about DC. I am interested to get into all of that and see what's going on with that. Oh, Trinity went to Universal? That's awesome. Hometown is Erie, PA, which was where the pizza bomber guy was. That's what's most famous. We're most famous for the pizza bomber dude. But yeah, that happened. It was crazy. All right, guys. So what do you say? You guys want to head into the theater? You guys want to go into the theater and I can show you why I'm super worried about this Batman? You think so? Is that what we should be doing? All right, guys. Get your popcorn. Let's get shuffling into the theater. Here we go. Come on in. Come on into the theater. Trickle in. Get your popcorn. Cell phones away. Okay. Now, I want to show you guys some stuff when it comes to the Batman. Here's the deal, okay? Before we even get into this, before we even get too far into this. Of course, this is Chet. Stop the music completely. I know they can barely hear it. I can hear it. I know they can. I can hear it. When I'm trying to make a point, shut it off. Thank you. Okay, so of course I know these are just set photos. Of course I know things can change, right? I've had people show me the set photos of the Batman from Nolan's stuff and his stunt double next to him and how it looks really different than that. But you know what, guys? I can't help it, man. I'm worried. I'm worried about what I see when it comes to the Batman, okay? Now, number one thing, before we even get too far into this, the number one thing that worries me about this Batman suit, all I can think of is Christian Bale saying, I'm not wearing hockey pads. Like, the memes are coming. The memes are coming. Robert Pattinson Batman, what's the difference between you and me? What gives you the right? And then Christian Bale's like, I'm not wearing hockey pads. He looks like he's wearing hockey pads. First of all, first impression, lame. By the way, had a conversation with the producers about this yesterday. Tara's also having a very bad day. Tara is like our hardcore DC person over at the Den. So, I'm not going to crap on this Batman as hard as maybe I would want to because of Tara. We're gonna try to be nice. And we're going to bring in other people's perspective. But just between you and me, Tara, earmuff it real quick. That's my feelings about Batman right now. Okay, now, several things have been noticed. This all came out on Friday. I wanted to cover it on Friday, but I had to head out of town, and also I destroyed the internet at my house. It's a story for a different time. There's a couple of interesting things that people have discovered from the many, many videos and pictures that have leaked with regards to Batman. One of these things that people have noticed is that there is no CGI tracking on this suit for a cape. Okay? He's obviously not wearing a cape, but besides even that, there's no tracking or reference points on this bat suit for a cape. Now, as Tara pointed out, this could be a thing where his cape comes out later. Maybe CGI is getting really great. They don't even need reference points. They can just put it in and make it look good. That's certainly possible. You know what else is possible? Matt Reeves might think it's going to be really cool and clever for Batman not to have a cape. Now, I don't know about you guys, but a capeless Batman? No, thank you. No, thank you. So, number one, we got hockey pads look. Does it look like he can actually function and fight a little bit more than maybe some other suits? Yeah, sure. But we got hockey pads Batman look. I'm not that into it. Just going to be real. Not that into it. There's no reference points for a CGI cape. Now, I need to show you guys something else here. I need to show you a closer look at this Batman's wrist. Okay? Show you this. Look at that. People pointed this out on Reddit. There are some barrels on his wrist. Definitely looks like some kind of a projectile. Now, if you look at the Reddit where most of this is posted and talked about, almost everybody there is like, okay, well, this has got to be some kind of wire, projectile, darts, something like that going on. It's got to be, they're trying to explain it. They're like, okay, this is maybe for those darts over there, which it's not. And I'll be slightly irritated if it is for those darts because those darts are actually a kind of ninja dart that are supposed to be thrown. That's what those are. Yes, they look like the things that are on the Court of Owls things, but they're called bow chickens, I think. Bow something. They're Japanese. They're ninja weapons. You throw them. They're like little shurikens that stick in, okay? So those don't need to be fired out of anything. I'm concerned that Matt Reeves is going to give us Punisher Batman and have him actually firing guns on his own gauntlet, okay? I'm not down. We talked about this as a group. Me and the producers talked about this. I'm just look. I know there are different interpretations. I know that this could be a Batman that is learning, that is growing. I get that. But if part of his growing process is like shooting people up, to me, that's the stupidest thing ever. I will really not like that. Now, this is a side shot of the actual Cowl here as well. And here, let's try some of this new interesting stuff that we've got going on here. So, up here, I think you can see a little bit of white in there. And I'll show you another photograph in a second because there appear to be these lenses that will be put into this suit. And you're going to have Batman with these lenses, maybe even have white light in the eyes. Now, that's cool. It makes it so that not everybody can see his eyeballs and kind of try to identify him that way. That's really interesting. But do you guys remember what I said about the Cowl the very first time we saw it? I said I was concerned about these things right here, about these little ears. Dude, I don't know what else. I don't know what else you want me to say. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like that it's got tiny ears in the back. You get this huge protruding forehead. You know what I mean? Like it might as well come out to here. You know, that's the Batman that I think I'm looking at right here. This little. In fact, here let's give this a fix. This is essentially what it looks like to me. Teeny nose. That's about the size of the forehead that I see. And then there's that. And then there's that, okay? So, to me, this just looks ridiculous. And I'm just I'm sorry. I'm not that into it. Now, beyond even that, we also see Catwoman. A lot of people were confused. We were like, okay, so what is this? Who is that other person on the bike with him? What's going on with the bike? And we've got Catwoman. This is the Catwoman suit? Now, granted, can they tighten this up? Can they make this look a little sharper? For sure. But this is uninspiring to me. This is uninspiring and, frankly, kind of lame. Kind of lame. So, when it comes to this Batman, what I'm ultimately really worried about, and here, I can show you these eyeball things again, too. Maybe we can zoom this in. I might have to. This is going to be a little weird, but I might zoom this in so that we can see this. I know we're breaking the theater illusion here, but can you see that a little bit better, guys? They've got those lenses in there. You know what I mean? To make it look like that. But I mean, look, frankly, this is just an uninspiring costume. And what I'm really concerned about, and I know there's a lot of negativity online for these set photos, and then there's a lot of people that are like, hey, they're just set photos. Don't be that negative about it. You shouldn't be that negative about it. Let me tell you what I'm really concerned about. And this will segue into what we're talking about with DC Comics. In fact, let's get back into the chat. I want to see what you guys are saying. I want to hang out and see what you guys are saying. Here's the thing. What I'm really concerned about is that Matt Reeves has decided that the cool way to make Batman interesting is to have him have this really functional looking suit, have him shooting guns, and have him not wearing a cape. Like a total new interpretation of Batman. And that, to me, is super lame. Super lame. That's not what makes Batman interesting, and I hate when Hollywood does this. When Hollywood's like, oh, I know how to make Batman really interesting. Let's ground it. Let's make every little thing make sense. I mean, for God's sakes, the dude's gauntlets, he doesn't even have bat things on his gauntlets. It's literally just the things that are holding his gauntlets on, the flaps. He's got flappy belt thingies on his wrist. And that's what makes him look like a bat. I mean, on the one hand, if he does make this suit different over time, which was in a leak, but at this point we can't confirm that leak at all. At all. This, to me, anything that I know that's official is that he's been a Batman for about 2 years. This suit is about 2 years in the making. This suit and this look is about 2 years in the making. Can you see why I'm worried? Can you see why I'm concerned? Like, honestly, I'm sure there will be some people that like it. If we go Punisher Batman, and we've got a Batman without a cape, and he's wearing freaking, like, armor and all this utility stuff, and it's like a cosplay Batman thing going on. And he's shooting people. Like, I got to be honest with you. If he's shooting people, and he's like this kind of, if they're doing this new interpretation of Batman, like Matt Reeves wants to be like, I wonder what it would be like if Batman was in the real world. Well, number one, he would definitely not hold true to his no using guns thing. That's for sure. Number two, why would he wear a cape? That only gets in the way. That's stupid. He wouldn't wear a cape. Number three, his suit would really look like it was held together and it would be different pieces and stuff like that. And even though Bruce Wayne is rich, it would really look like that. No! That's Punisher Batman. That's not Batman. And so I just got to be honest with you guys. When I see a lot of this stuff coming out from the set photos, I'm in the crowd that ain't down. I'm concerned. We'll need to see more of it, of course. But like that Catwoman suit, horrible. The Batman suit itself, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan. Like, this is such a poor man's Batman. And Batman ain't poor, bro. You know what I mean? Batman is a very wealthy dude. So I just don't understand it. So that's pretty much my thoughts, guys, about Batman, the set photos, and the things that have been leaking out. I'm not that into it. But Chet, get the music going back. What are you doing? And yeah, I'll take a peek in chat here. Let's see what everybody's saying. Yeah, look, the very first iteration of Batman, I saw Captain Pennsylvania's thing. The very first iteration of Batman was using guns, was killing people. But the very first iteration of Batman was also like purple and bright yellow and weird stuff. You know what I mean? Before Bill Finger came in there and was like, no, Bob Kane, this is stupid. I'm going to fix this for you. The original Batman was very different. Trinity says, Reeves has gone full Ryan Johnson. Oh, no. Hey, maybe. Look, normies might love that. You know what I mean? The normies and the casuals might really love that. I am not feeling it. I am not feeling it. And again, I know it's set photos. I get it. It could look much better when it finally comes out. But, like, I looked over all of it, and the more and more stuff that came out, the more I was like, man, I'm not feeling it. And if he goes full Punisher Batman, if that's what they want to do, I mean, it just shows the ineptitude, in my opinion, of DC and how they can't figure that out. You know what I mean? Like, I just watched last night The Reign of Superman, the animated movie. And for some reason, it slipped past my radar. I didn't watch it when it first came out. I loved the death of Superman. I thought that was fantastic, right? And then that anime, dude, it just nails the different aspects of the characters so well. And much of the DC animated stuff really does seem to nail what DC Comics, what they represent, what it means, what the characters are. And so I'm worried. That's all I'll say. Because I'm a little bit worried. Okay, so now let's get into let's talk about the craziest news of the day, man. Do you guys know what's going on with DC Comics? Because this is I mean, look, it's a Marvel Monday, and we're gonna get into some Marvel stuff. And there's a Marvel video coming out on the main channel later today. It's gonna be really cool, but it's also kind of a crap on DC Marvel Monday, unfortunately. So, Dan DiDio has left DC Comics. Dan DiDio was the publisher of DC Comics, and he was seemingly fired, is what I've heard. Okay, so this scoop right here, or actually, what's interesting is when I looked up this story, this was published on Bleeding Cool. The guy Richard over there, who I believe did this article as well. Yeah, Rich Johnson. He had been reporting this as a rumor for a while, and people just refused to believe that it was real, okay? And so it definitely is real, and comicbook.com apparently just published an article talking about it, basically stealing the scoop from Bleeding Cool. I don't know what the beef is there, but they definitely did that, okay? So I'm going to read right from this article a little bit here, and then we're going to speculate. But yeah, let's go in this. Okay, earlier today, Bleeding Cool ran the scoop that Dan DiDio had gone at DC Comics. He was probably my favorite comic book publisher. I often didn't agree with his publishing decisions, but who does with anyone's? But I enjoyed his company and his presence immensely. Also, that he would play the game. He understood Bleeding Cool's place in the role of things as a critical, often mocking voice, and would sometimes even play up to it. He was also a disruptor. He wanted to shake things up to find what was better, an approach that can rub many the wrong way, but often works because he, as much as anyone else, loves comics and the characters and wants what's best for them. Yes, even Wally West and Dick Grayson, okay? Bleeding Cool now understands that, yes, DiDio was fired this morning at 10:30 a.m., this is Pacific Standard Time, in their Burbank office, and he left the building straight away. I am told by sources close to the situation that he was fired for fostering a poor work environment. As evidence, as we previously stated, by significant departures at the publisher by editors, Dan DiDio has a reputation of being a micromanager, from some for being involved with as many... what? That's a weird sentence. Reputation of being a micromanager from some for being very involved in projects from others, and DC Comics was heading towards a big change in its publishing programming. One aspect is the much-rumored 5G or Generation 5. We're going to talk more about that in a second as well. This whole situation is very wild, which would have seen DC's major figures, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, Diana, and more, aged out and replaced with new characters taking the roles of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman as a part of the new DC timeline. And some folk at DC Comics were very much against this, Scott Snyder. But opposition never worried Dan. After all, he was at constant odds with the direction of the company line. It was pushed pretty much his entire career as publisher and was always striving to put comics first as he saw it. But in recent months, there seemed to be editorial backtracks on the direction given. Details changed, and the general sense of frustration that the clock was ticking and that nothing was being done. We saw rapid departure in DC editorials. Pat McCallan, Alex Ottone, Molly Mahan, and Rob Liven, and others. Certainly, DiDio's departure was a surprise to him, as it was to everyone else. I understand that it was internally announced as a series of small staff meetings at Burbank today, though no one seems to have been told. The executives attending Comics Pro had to read all about it on Bleeding Cool and their mobile phones, who sharply exited the conference call as a result. That's ridiculous. Jim Lee is the remaining publisher and CCO at DC, and he'll be steering the ship for the foreseeable future unless they bring somebody else on. Okay, so according to them, he was fired. Now, what's really weird about this is that he was fired literally after doing some things that morning. Like, let's get back into the chat. Let's chat about this. So here's the deal. DiDio was literally doing stuff, having meetings that morning, and he was fired suddenly. Now, from what I understand, this is a strange occurrence. This is not usually the way it happens with somebody that's as high profile as Dan DiDio, with somebody that's in this kind of a position. Now, we are going to talk, folks, about some of the stuff that Ethan Van Sciver has been saying. Anybody know who Ethan Van Sciver is? Anybody? Anybody know? Anybody know who he is? Yeah, Ethan Van Sciver. He's got a wild reputation from a lot of different people for a lot of different things. But the one thing that I think is very important to bring up when it comes to Ethan is that he definitely knows these people. You know what I mean? He worked in the industry for a long time before, his exit from the industry, which, caused Comicsgate and caused all of those different things. I used to work in comics. Now, I was in amateur small press, and I bumped elbows with some people that were, like, bigger names, but not, like, anything crazy. But when it comes to comics and DC or Marvel, I've been really quiet about a lot of the stuff that has been going on in comics because I just didn't feel like it was my place. I know people on both sides of this weird divide in comics right now, and I didn't want to like upset anybody with my opinions or anything like this. But when it comes to this situation, one of the things that Ethan talked about, and he talked about this last year, was the fact that because AT&T and Time Warner are literally something like $150 to $170 billion in debt, that they are trying to streamline all of their different assets, and they're trying to save as much money as they possibly can. And so there have been a lot of different things. There have been, I think it was 240 different people at DC Comics have been fired in the last year. And according to Ethan, which at this point we have to report is just rumor, right? It's rumor and speculation, but it is from somebody who has at least some knowledge of what is going on over there. It is completely possible that Time Warner, AT&T, and all of these different entities will divest from the comic book publishing game. What this would mean is that they're literally going to strip it all out. They're not going to publish comics anymore. I think they would still want to make movies and, you know, make stuff with Batman and Superman and all them because they're very big as far as intellectual property is concerned. But it brings in a very interesting possibility in which Marvel Comics or some other comic book publisher could license out the ability to make DC books, okay? There's also the possibility, as crazy as it seems, that Warner Brothers and DC would be interested in selling the license and ownership of those characters that they own. I mean, think about it. When Marvel was going bankrupt in the 90s, what did they do to stay from going bankrupt? They sold the license for live action, animated, and all sorts of stuff of some of their most popular characters to other film studios, okay? This is why certain people had Spider-Man, right? This is why Fox had the X-Men, because when Marvel was in trouble, they sold that stuff for mucho dollar bills, and it brought some much-needed revenue into the company to prevent them from going completely flat up. Now, when the MCU started, they had to go back and buy back a lot of these licenses and properties, and the reason we don't have super popular characters in Phase 1, because maybe you didn't know this, but Iron Man was not a very popular character until that movie came out, was because they couldn't afford to buy back the license to their best and most popular characters being the X-Men and Spider-Man. There's no way they were going to get that back, okay? And so this could legitimately happen. I don't know. Like a year ago when EVS made that prediction, I said, and I remember saying this, that there's no way that would be the dumbest thing ever. That would be the dumbest thing ever if Warner Brothers was looking to do that. Now, since then, AT&T has entered the picture, and AT&T, totally different animal. I don't think Warner Brothers would have done it, but it's very possible that AT&T could do it. Now, this would run really counter to a lot of plans that are already going on. You have HBO Max being developed. You just signed that huge deal with J.J. Abrams to create content for Warner Brothers. There's a lot of DC stuff coming out. And so it could be possible that maybe just the comic books themselves begin to get published over at Marvel or somewhere else. Or it is possible that what you could see happen is DC Comics finally do an event with Marvel Comics. Now, one of the things Ethan said in one of his recent videos is that there was something that happened when Axel Alonso was editor-in-chief. Or no, it was Joe Quesada. When Quesada was editor-in-chief, I'm not sure. There was beef, basically, between Dan DiDio and one of the big wigs at Marvel. And they had made a comment about DC that was really disparaging. And then Dan DiDio had a vendetta, and he was never going to do an event with Marvel Comics. They've done events in the past with like the amalgam stuff like that, right? And what's really interesting is in a recent Marvel comic, the Justice League did make an appearance. Now, of course, it's not the actual Justice League. It's like a version of Justice League, but they made an appearance in a Thor comic book. Also really interesting to note is at the end of Doomsday Clock, there is reference that Superman potentially gets saved 10 years from now by Thor. And I believe it was another Marvel hero as well. Hulk, I believe. Yeah. So there's this weird thing that's going on behind the scenes where it's possible that a Marvel DC crossover, at least on the comic book level, could happen. And so I know that's pretty wild, right? It's pretty crazy stuff. But anybody that tells you that that's like 100% right or 100% wrong, none of this will happen, man, I cannot believe that Dan DiDio was let go like this. Like, from what I know of the comic book industry, from what I know about Dan DiDio, that is mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing that they would let that dude go like that. And I think it's an AT&T thing, man. I think AT&T, like, they view this 5G thing as the future of comics. And honestly, what a lot of people are reporting, including Rich from Bleeding Cool, is that if DC doesn't nail it with 5G, which, spoiler alert, they won't. Everything I've heard about 5G sounds terrible and stupid. If they don't nail it with 5G, they're going to divest. That AT&T is going to be like, okay, you had a good run, DC Comics. Good try. Good try. And then it's over. Right? Like, how insane is that? Like, I don't see a lot of people, like, there's some people that are talking about this, but I don't see enough people talking about this. This would be absolutely ridiculous. The comics books industry has been in trouble for a long, long time. And by the way, it's not straight wokeness that destroyed the comic book industry. That is not true. The comic book industry was already on a decline. The comic book industry was eating itself alive for years, decades. There have been so many boneheaded decisions made in comics, so many different boneheaded decisions, that when it came to what they did, when they did switch to super wokeness and then they tried to like push that, which by the way was just done to try to get sales. Strangely enough, they thought it would actually help sales, right? All that stuff is like the icing on the cake. The problems with the comic book industry go layers deep in that cake. You know what I mean? Layers deep. But yeah, that's the craziness when it comes to DC Comics. I definitely want to know what you guys think about that, and we'll get into straight Q&A in just a second. Jonathan's coming in with a super chat, says, "Man, Batman can't be the Cape Crusader without the cape." 100%. I think another super chat. Didn't another super chat come through, or was that a subscribe? Might have been a subscribe. Honestly, I'm all right with it. Yeah. DC Black Label would bail them out. No one is focusing on their villains and protagonists. Its new spin, obviously, is $1 billion idea. So here's the thing about that, Lavis. Black Label hurt them real bad. Because Black Label had that famous thing where they showed Batman's wiener. And when that happened, dude, that made headlines in the way that AT&T was like, "What are you doing, Warner Brothers? We're trying to market Batman to young people. And you're going to do a Black Label." Black Label got literally handcuffed and failed because they showed Batman's wiener, and AT&T's like, what the hell? We didn't think that we'd have to tell you not to show Batman's cock. Sorry, had no idea that we'd have to be this specific. Can you imagine that meeting? You know what I mean? And I like that run with Constantine. I thought that was such a cool book with Constantine and Batman the Damned. Very cool run. But yeah, that didn't work either, man. Gotta head out. See you, Mr. Anderson. See ya. Yeah, and Tom King is a great writer, but apparently his Batman run, no bueno. What a dick move. Oh, man. Good one. Good one, Jason. Good one. That was a good one, bruh. Hey, by the way, guys, have you noticed there's no gray? And I don't even want to say this because now it's gonna happen. But have you noticed there's no gray out of this live stream? Have you noticed we're running silky smooth in 60 frames a second? Test it out. Test it out. Test the 60 frames out. Show you guys my karate moves. Yeah, that's right. We're getting stuff sorted here. Okay, let's get into some Q&A. Let's just go straight into Q&A for a little bit. I want to know what you guys think about all of this craziness. So let's get into Q&A. By the way, if anybody wants to try a $10 super chat, the robot voice should be working. We should have our Jarvis up and running, but I'm not 100% that it'll work because, strangely enough, YouTube will not let you do super chats on an unlisted live stream. And so I was doing all these test streams, but that's the one thing I couldn't test was the super chat thing. So if anybody is interested and wants to drop a $10 super chat, that would be cool. In fact, you know what? I might do one just to test it out. But yeah, let's get into Q&A. You can, of course, just drop a question in the chat. I'll get to as many questions as I can. And when anybody drops a super chat, I'll answer any single super chat that comes in, of course. Let's see here. Do they put Black Label Comics in the back with Hustler and Penthouse? No, unfortunately, they don't. In fact, I think most comic book shops open the books up right to the Bat Penis page and put it at the front of the store for all the kids that walked by. I think that was part of the tactic. Hector says it's looking good. CGM show in the building. No tech issues. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Will it work for the movies? No Batcock. Yeah. Maverick says, yeah, what does Ezra Miller's appearance mean for the DCEU? Okay, so I've heard a couple of different things about this. I've heard that it was actually somebody at Warner Brothers that wanted Ezra Miller's Flash in the CW show, and that it was sort of put in by them. And that could mean that they have a plan for it and they think it could be really cool. But what's the best predictor of future behavior? It's past behavior. And so, unfortunately, I have to chalk it up to Warner Brothers executives just being Warner Brothers executives. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would be really cool. I'd love to believe that they had a plan. They were like, we're doing this Ezra Miller movie. You know, the script that he did with Grant Morrison is beautiful. We're going to go that direction. Here we go. But, unfortunately, I don't know. Chet finally something right. That big Renee, you're so mean. I'm not even going to tell you what he just said, Chet. I'm not even going to tell you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let's see here. What do you think about Charles Murphy's predicted 2022 slate of Ant-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Blade? It is a... Oh, okay. I see you, Drummond Company. I'll get to that in just a second. What do I think about his predicted slate of Ant-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Blade? Okay, so I'm definitely down with Black Panther 2 and Captain Marvel 2. I think those are great ideas. I'm even down for Blade, but again, I really think they should do something that's event film-esque. Maybe Captain Marvel 2 will be that, and it'll have a secret invasion that involves a lot of different Avengers characters and things like that. That could totally work. As far as the next Ant-Man is concerned, I don't know. I kind of have this feeling, and potentially informed by rumors here, that the Ant-Man movie, the next one, could set up Fantastic Four. And so that would be really cool. I'd be down for that. Blade, super interested in Blade. I'm interested to see how they make it really cool, though. Mahershala Ali is great. Blade is awesome. But how do you really sell an MCU Blade movie? You know what I mean? If there's some really interesting draw there or something like that, that could be really cool. So what do I think about it? I think it's cool. I'd prefer an Avengers movie or a Dark Avengers movie or some kind of event film in there. But yeah. I said your name right? Well, that's one. That's one time I did that right. Yeah, if I get an $11 refund, it doesn't work. Yeah. Everybody's afraid. They're like, I don't trust this robot. You miss Nightbot going on rampages? Well, I'm sorry. I was not aware that the WWE executives knew they had an Arrowverse, right? Honestly. Okay, let's go up and take Drum & Company's question. My super chat last week was a Star Wars question. Would you prefer I didn't ask a Star Wars question? Oh, no. Dude, any question's good. Any question. Drop it on in, man. Prop Josh, they were being woke. Comics need to start being sold at Walmart and Target, not just the 100-page specials. They sort of tried that, but look, I could do a whole thing on what I think comic books need to do. Uh-oh. James Heaton is brave. Did it work? Did it work? No? No! I can't believe it. Didn't we have one work earlier? That is... Oh, there we go. Holy cow.
Back, Josh. Friday wasn't the same without the stream. Don't you think if DC did a movie series based on the Batman animated series from the 90s or even Batman Beyond, it would make mad dollar? Why don't they like money?
Oh, can we give it a Chet, stand up. Chet, we got to figure it out, guys. We got to figure it out. A little bit of delay, but dang, that was cool. Thank you. Thank you, James Heaton, for the support, the continued support. You're awesome. Thank you, Chet, for actually figuring that out. And thank you, Robot Jarvis Voice, for actually functioning. That's awesome. Nice. Okay, so James says, welcome back. Josh, Friday wasn't the same without the stream. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I do apologize about no stream Friday. Don't you think if DC did a movie based on Batman the animated series with the 90s or even Batman Beyond, it would make mad money? Why don't they like money? Yeah, dude. Okay, so first of all, very good question, and I appreciate the support, of course. Thank you for the donation. Now, if they did a movie based on the Batman animated series from the 90s or even Batman Beyond, wouldn't it make mad money? Why don't they like money? I think Batman Beyond, as far as those two are concerned, Batman Beyond would be the better way to go. But what really upsets me is the fact that they don't... here's the thing. If you're an indie creator, okay, or if you're a company that's, looking for IP and you're trying to build something out and you want to do a universe, you would kill. You would literally go to, people's houses and murder them in their sleep, do horrible things in order to get the kind of recognition that Batman has. Batman is one of the most popular pop culture characters of all time. He automatically brings in a certain amount of draw, a certain amount of hype, and it's crazy to me that Warner Brothers doesn't understand that or can't figure that out. You don't need to deconstruct and figure out Batman. You don't need to do all of these things to make Batman work. Batman is a already established thing. I almost wish they would just come into a world where you don't have to establish Batman. Batman just is. By the way, this is something that the animated movies do really well. That Batman is a part of it. We already know Batman. And then they tell an interesting story within that setup. How do you... and there have been so many great stories told about Batman in the comic books. One of the things Marvel did really well was, use the fucking comics. Right? They use the comics. They pull from the best, most relatable comic book stories and adapt those storylines for the silver screen. Right? So it's we've got Civil War, we've got Infinity Gauntlet. And I think this is something Jason was talking about. Somebody was talking about this the other week where we were like, this is wild because Marvel uses all these things. DC has access to plenty of great stuff, and they don't do it. Right? So, I don't know. To me, man, it's a whole weird thing, but I think that, bottom line, they don't understand. They feel like they need to do something Hollywood to it, and as opposed to just tell a great Batman story. And that is also part of my concern for the Batman film, is that Matt Reeves is just, so cinephile about it, and Warner Brothers is so, we want this. We're really going to let you do your vision. Really going to let you do this. And then they do this whole thing, and it doesn't even really represent Batman from the comic books anymore. That's what I'm most concerned about. But thank you, James, for the support and for testing that out. I also know that it was a little bit low, right? The audio was low on that robot voice. So we'll adjust that. When we get into Q&A, we got to remember, when we get into Q&A, we got to jack up the volume so that we can hear the robot voice if people want to support that way. So that's my thoughts when it comes to that, man. Yeah, very low audio. Ugh, can barely hear it. Oh, no. My bad. My bad. We'll get it sorted out, I promise. The Daybot versus Nightbot bit never gets old. Indeed. Chet is underrated. We got some interesting stuff we're working on with Chet. We got some cool ways to try to inject him into the content a little bit more. Apparently they don't know Superman is popular either. Well, they just don't know how to like it just blows my mind. You know, Batman v Superman is a humiliating failure for Warner Brothers. That film should have made $3 billion. Batman and Superman are way more popular than any of the Avengers. Maybe not now, which is crazy, actually, if you think about it. But Batman and Superman, get out of town. They're some of the most recognizable characters on the planet. How did they screw that up? And did I miss the Star Wars question by Drum and Company? Let's see here. Okay. How do you see the Star Wars progressing, and do you think the toxic fan base will die? Also, will there be new fans who come in? That's a really interesting question, man. Micah. It's Micah, right? Am I saying that wrong? Am I saying that correct? How do I see Star Wars progressing? Do I think the toxic fan base will die? And also, will there be new fans that come in? So, I think Star Wars is going to progress just fine. I'm actually really excited, and I know you guys have probably heard me talk about this in videos. I'm really excited about the future of Star Wars and what I think they have going on. I hope they get one of these really big names to come in and bring some goodwill over. Will the toxic fan base die? I don't know if the toxic fan base will die, but I think that the toxic fan base is getting super played out. You know? Different people have opinions on how to combat some of the problems that come from the toxic fans. And I mean, look, you're talking to a guy that tried to start a movement to try to like do something about that, and ultimately I realized that was not the best way to do it, right? So what I think the best way to get rid of the toxic fans, yo, Chuck, welcome to the Nerd Vengers, bro. The best thing you could do for toxic fans is to actually just promote and have positive Star Wars discussion. And so, like, just as a way of, for instance, what I've noticed is in a lot of my videos, if the videos really do blow up on Star Wars, like I'm talking like 50,000 plus, 100,000 plus, 150,000 plus videos, views-wise, there tends to be a big influx of comments that are very negative. Not necessarily toxic, but negative. And what I've noticed is in my videos, if I do a better job of addressing those people and just being like, hey, no, I totally get it. People don't like Kathy Kennedy. I get you. But, and then I hit them with but, and I sort of like give them a fair shake, but talk about how like there's really no ground to stand on. Like, for instance, this idea that Kathy was kicked off of the set of The Mandalorian, like, that's 100% false. That's a rumor so stupid that you'd really, like, I really question how ready people are to believe this kind of stuff, right? It's almost like they're primed to be like, oh, anti-Kathy news. Oh, that's drama. And really, like, to me, it's really no mystery that a while after the Star Wars buzz dies down and some of these channels aren't, able to cover stuff that's really blowing up. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, did you hear this rumor? You know what I mean? Like, I get it. That's cool. Do you. Get the views. But then it's like, for me, when I cover it, I just have to let people know, like, hey, it's not real. Could she step down in 2021? For sure. Do I hope she steps down in 2021? I do. I do hope she steps down. But this whole idea of like, oh, man, we got to get her out of there. And, oh, she's doing all this horrible stuff. Look, I'm telling you first. Okay, let me tell you something. Chet, put me on the big screen. Chet, put me on the big screen. I'm going to tell you guys something that I've never talked about this before. Kill the music. Kill the music. Chet! Well, lean in. This is exclusive. It's a Den of Nerds exclusive. I might even get in trouble for saying this. Lean in. Come here. Come here. Listen to Papa Josh. Listen to Papa Josh. I know for a fact that there was a time period in which Kathy could have walked away. Someone else could have stepped in. Kathy would have been totally cool with it. And I know for a fact that one of the big reasons that that didn't happen is because of all these people that bitch about her online. This is why I've said to you guys before, what is crazy about the Fandom Menace is that they are actually creating some of the problems that they appear to be so upset by. I know for a fact that if it wasn't for some of those people and the loudness and the narrative and the toxicity that came from that side of the fan base, that Kathy Kennedy potentially would already be gone. They fucked it up! They fucked it up! She would have been chill. Someone else would have come in. It would have been fine. But because those people wouldn't shut the fuck up about it, she's still there. And now Disney has to worry about all of this PR, all of this messaging. What does it all mean? She was literally this close. We were this close. And you, internet idiot, you fucked it up! And that's all I can say. I've probably already said too much. Chet, get me back into the chat, play the music, and let's cut that out of the replay. We can't even talk about that. Okay. Okay. Technical difficulties there. I don't know about that. Technical difficulties. Don't know what just happened. Don't put that on the internet. Whatever you do, don't put that out on the internet, please. Seriously, my sources will actually be pissed that I said that, to be honest with you. But I know for this isn't like, I'm not like, hey, I know this. No, motherfuckers. I know for sure. Wait, jack that up so we can hear. Did it not voice that time? Did it not voice? I saw the cha-ching. Did it not voice it? Did you guys hear that? I didn't hear it. Oh, interesting. Okay, phone call from Feige, Josh. We got the licensing to do a DC/MCU crossover event. We value your input. We need your best idea for this to make billions. Money is not an issue. Go. Okay. Great. First of all, James, thank you so much for the support. You're too kind. You're too kind. I appreciate you. Now, as far as this pitch, this idea, here's what I would do. Superman, I think this is the best way to do it. This is what I would do. Superman from the Injustice comic book universe. That Superman has conquered that entire planet and that entire universe, but that's not good enough for him. He wants to start tackling the multiverse, okay? And he also absorbs or somehow gets the powers or some of the powers of the Anti-Monitor. And so you sort of have like an Anti-Monitor villainous Superman that is performing a multiversal conquest, okay? And the DC heroes from the regular DC universe come over to the Marvel universe and they explain what is going on and they team up to try to stop this wild, dark, Anti-Monitor type Superman from taking over the entire multiverse. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. So I don't know. You guys let me know. You let me know. What do you think? Good pitch? Bad pitch? Good pitch? Bad pitch? You let me know. James says, this channel is amazing. I want to see it blow up. It's my pleasure. Well, thank you very much, brother. I tell you what. I'll make you a deal. We're going to keep busting our humps over here, and making sure we bring the great quality to you, man. We're going to do our part. You guys do your part. Just likes, shares, subscribes, the occasional super chat. You don't got to go crazy, James. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want you to not be able to take your wife out to dinner or something like that. That would be horrible. But support really does help. And honestly, liking, sharing, commenting, telling people about this show. We haven't even really started to promote this stream yet. But once we do, this show's going to blow up, man. I'm telling you. That would be amazing. Omniverse. Yeah. What's up with people trying to make Feige out to be a SJW or something? Well, he kind of is, I think. Not even he's not an SJW, but he definitely cares a lot about progressive politics. You know what I mean? And personally, I have no problem with that. But there's a lot of news coming out lately about how Drummond Company says it's all right. It's just all right. Well, I guess I was a little more hyped on it than I thought. But there was this report that came out that Feige was going to quit the MCU around the time of Avengers because Ike Perlmutter wouldn't let them do like female-led superhero movies and wouldn't let them do Black Panther. Right? So Ike Perlmutter was like not about that life. And that was a big part of why Feige was so frustrated under Ike Perlmutter. But you see, when it comes to news and when it comes to the things that get reported, you really got to like think about it. Like, what's the real story? Like, was Feige sitting there like, representation really matters? Or was he like, some of the best Marvel characters are characters that are like minorities. They're awesome. T'Challa is great. We need Wakanda in the MCU. Ike Perlmutter, you're fucking this up for me. Or was he really, like, focused on the representation aspects? It's hard to say. Now, I'll say this, and this might not be a popular opinion, but it's my opinion. I actually think that Marvel Studios secretly dodged a bullet, and that with Ike Perlmutter's stubborn, old-school tactics, what happened was you allowed Marvel to have years and years and years of goodwill created with fans that would be not feeling that great if it went full on woke, right? And so I actually think, believe it or not, that they actually owe Ike Perlmutter a thank you, because even though, yeah, he's ridiculous, and I've heard so many stories about Ike Perlmutter, man. Again, working in comics, that motherfucker. Anyway, it's actually one of those things where it could have been a happy accident. Like, Ike's like, no, we don't want to do this, and Feige doesn't do it right away, but what actually ends up happening is the MCU establishes itself and gets a lot of goodwill with a ton of different fans, and then it goes to be more inclusive, which I think is literally a better way to do it. So, unpopular opinion, I'm sure, but at the end of the day, I think they got lucky with that one. I really do. Those billions of Black Panther dollars wouldn't have been made. Yep, you're right. If that was true, Josh, he would have done Scarlet Witch movie before Captain Marvel or a Black Widow movie. Well, it's hard to say, really. It's hard to say. Now, exactly, Josh, that's what they did. Now they have to be careful how woke they get, how quickly. Yeah, but here's my thing, honestly. Like, I totally agree with you, Justin, but my thing is this. I think they are actually positioned very well to not have that affect them the same way that it has affected other studios and companies. Because I think Feige is really smart about, what do I always say? He gives everybody the toys. Do you know what I'm saying? He gives everybody the toys. He gives these people the toys. He gives these people the toys. And so as long as we keep getting toys... Like, look, I've said this to you guys before. It's not that I don't... Like, when it comes to, like, a girl power movie, right? Like, Birds of Prey, Captain Marvel, girl power stuff. I'm one of those people that I'm like, that's cool. I'm cool with it. I'm certainly not one of those people that's like, SJW's coming to steal our jobs. You know what I mean? Like, that's not me. I think that shit's a little outplayed. But I also am not one of those people that's going to be like, you know what? I am so fucking into this girl power. I'm so into this representation. Like, I'm just not. I I'm not going to sit here and fake it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, no, this is great. I care about it a lot, and it's about time. It's about time. I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. Yeah, newsflash. A lot of people aren't that guy. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't that guy. Good for you. I'm happy for you. I want you to have your toys. I want you to be excited. By the way, I fucking love T'Challa. I love T'Challa and I love Wakanda. I'm as white as the driven snow. I'm Polish. That's like extra white. You know what I mean? I love T'Challa because I love T'Challa. It has nothing to do with him being black. Now, I can acknowledge that for a black person, seeing that representation, having that experience is great and is awesome. And to a degree, I'm like, dude, that's great. That's great. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, like, that's something that I really, really fucking care about. It's just not. So you've just got to be careful with those sort of things. But I think that the MCU has actually established itself so well already, and there's so much goodwill from fans that I think they're really going to dodge. I really feel like they're going to bob and weave through a lot of this BS because, frankly, a lot of it is just kind of like online grifters that want to make money. Like, you know exactly who I'm talking about, okay? You know exactly the group of people. I'm not going to name names, you know what I mean? Like, as I always say, like, you know, you make your bread, people. But you know the list of people that when I tell you there's a list of people out there that are hoping, literally doing seances, Ouija boards, candles, wishing on shooting stars, going to see psychics, doing everything they can and hoping that Marvel does go overtly woke and piss everybody off. Because it would mean so much money for them. So many clicks, so many videos. It would be like Brie Larson's comments pre-Captain Marvel times 10. There are a ton of people out there that are begging, hoping, pleading, wishing, selling their firstborn children for crepes and pierogies, as Mav said, hoping that Marvel makes that mistake, that Marvel even broaches that line of thinking and production. Y'all feel me? Do y'all feel where I'm coming from? And the real danger lies in how much of the public buys into that narrative. The narrative that will be pushed by people that want that outcome because they will be able to monetize it. I think Marvel will do a good job. I think Marvel will. It's like one of the things that Trinity says, which, by the way, guys, we're going to end very soon here, and I highly recommend everybody goes to Second Street Marvel's channel and checks out his stream. This is something that Trinity says all the time, where he's like, just because it is representation, just because it is female fatale, girl power, or whatever, doesn't mean it can't be great. And that's true. That's real shit. It doesn't mean it can't be great. The inherent quality of a thing does not it does not correlate with the messaging that's just trying to be put into it, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, I would definitely go check out Trinity's stream after this. But that is something that he says all the time. It's just because it is this thing doesn't mean it can't be good. For instance, the Miss Marvel show, it could be super woke. I mean, one of the aspects that I found was really interesting about that character is that when she first realizes her shape-shifting abilities and powers, she becomes like this atypical, beautiful Caucasian girl, right? That's like what she does with her shape-changing powers. And then it's sort of realized that, like, you're going to literally change yourself into the object representation of beauty. Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Really interesting stuff going on there. That show could be super woke. And it could still be fantastic. You know what I mean? It really could. It could be fantastic. And certain people will get some real life meta stuff out of it. Other people will just be along for the cool story and cool characters and ride. So one thing doesn't automatically mean the other. But thank you, everybody, for being a part of the morning stream here on the Den of Nerds Live. We're going to leave it there. As I said, guys, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What should DC do? what should DC do? Come on by for that community stream. I think it's going to be very, very cool. Yeah, and stay tuned to this channel and the main channel. Marvel video coming out in the next couple of hours on the regular channel as well, okay? As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video. Chet, roll the outro video. You're here for once. Can you roll the outro video? What do you mean you don't have the outro video on? What do you mean?